Right off the bat, I could sense the authenticity and groundedness of Ryan Coogler's involvement as a producer. There's just a certain touch his presence brings that's undeniable, and I see it interwoven into so many aspects of the show. The choice to begin with Riri in such a complex point in her life makes the story so much more intriguing because she's not even tiptoeing between hero and anti-hero. She's a full-blown anti-hero. She's completely aware of her moral ambiguity and how she chooses to acquire resources and financial gain, but she's choosing to completely ignore it because she's so driven, and it's making her have the most insane tunnel vision. She's pushing away her grief and not choosing to deal with it head on, and in the process also pushing people who love her away, like her mom. And it's also making her dangerously impulsive. But after the horror of witnessing two of the closest people to you get killed right in front of you, how could anyone blame her for mourning, even if the way she's choosing to go about it is a bit destructive? Grief is not always reasonable, but to me, those are always the most compelling stories. It also makes her moral arc that much more enticing. But without the choices she's making now, she won't understand why it's so important for her to become a better hero. With her brains, her expertise, her determination, she doesn't realize how without carefully deciding how to use her power, it's just as bad as if that power were in the hands of a villain. I don't think it truly sunk in until that third episode, where she not only implicated herself with murder, even though it's incredibly important to note that it was most definitely in self-defense, but she also implicated Zeke, which, by the way, what an incredible reveal. Him being the son of Obadiah Stane, very cool twist. I also find it necessary to discuss how incredibly mind-blowing it is that she created an AI that not only has the same characteristics and mannerisms as her deceased best friend, but also how it has her real-life memories. Like, let's not skip past that too quickly. Not only does it show the brilliance of Riri's mind and how in that sense she reminds me so much of Tony, because it definitely recalls something that he would have done. And given the fact that he created Jarvis, who then merged to become Vision, it is something he did. And how they both showed very little foresight into the future implications of how their technology would affect them personally, but also the implications of what this technology could mean within this world and the potential it has to be used for evil. As most good things in the Marvel Universe, they truly can never have anything nice, which subsequently ties beautifully into real life discussions we're having currently about the moral implications of AI in our society. I think most fans would argue that Tony Stark's mind is a one of a kind. I could start listing off all his attributes and all he's done, but I'll just give you one example. He literally invented time travel, and amongst all the exceptional minds surrounding him, he was the only one who could properly figure out how to do so. And yes, there are others who some would argue are just as intelligent, maybe Peter Parker for example, or even more intelligent like Reed Richards. But in Earth 616 at the moment, there are very few minds that could have brought this into fruition. And just like Tony was plagued by his own brilliance and the choices he made with it, I see that same foreshadowing with Riri. I really like what they're doing with the hood on the show. From a comic perspective, Parker Robin stumbled across the cloak during a robbery. It gave him supernatural abilities, and while he didn't know it at the time, the demon supplying those abilities was none other than Dormammu. Yeah, that Dormammu, aka the ruler of the dark dimension, the same one that appears in Doctor Strange. He eventually becomes a pawn for Dormammu because, as always, his hobbies include conquering universes and spreading chaos. And as if being a pawn of a demon wasn't bad enough, he starts venturing into deeper realms of the occult, summoning Nizanti demons and making blood sacrifices. So God only knows where this is heading in the show, because that man seems unhinged already, especially now that his closest ally has been killed. And when that man finds out that it was Riri who betrayed them, like, I ain't gonna hold y'all, I'm a little scared for Miss Riri, because she's smart and she's capable, but is she capable of going up against crazy mystical supernatural forces that may or may not be connected to Mephisto? Child, I guess we're about to find out. If you stayed this long, thank you. I wanted to tell you guys that I made a blog, and in my blog I have a written article of this video, so if you want to check that out, go to lunarlilyblog.com.